And let's just start in a child's pose today. So you can take your knees as wide as feels good. So starting out sometimes a little wider is going to be more of an intense hip stretch. If you want them a little closer, even knees together, you can take that variation too. Sometimes that's a little more intense on the lower back. So just kind of play around, see where you're at so far today. And then if you're really tight in the neck and the head, maybe you grab a block just to give yourself a little support or a blanket. And then play around with your arms. Does it feel good to have them by your side or extending forward? So just see kind of where you're at, what you need. And then start to take a few nice deep inhales through your nose and then some exhales through your mouth. So just letting the day so far go. We're almost about ready to let the last day of November go. We're all going to be really ready in a month to let 2020 go. And if you haven't already, you're starting to find that rhythm of your Jai breath. So that inhale through your nose, that exhale through your nose, you're creating that soft rush of air in the back of your throat. It sounds like ocean waves rolling in and out. Maybe the inhale feels a little easier in your body today. Perhaps the exhale feels easier. So just noticing, observing, and attuning to the physical sensations that are happening with the breath. So that expansion of the rib cage as you inhale, the contraction of everything in as you exhale. Couple more moments here. So when your attention wanders, and it will, that's fine. Just come back to your breath. Come back to that sound. Just really giving yourself permission for this next hour to check in, get quiet. You don't have to worry about the to-do list, all of the stuff that needs to get done this week. And then let's find a quick little twist here. So just walking your arms off to the right, you can reach them forward if they're by your side. Maybe you're just resting your head to the inside of that left arm. Forehead might still be on the floor here or on a block. So just be gentle, be easy. You can spread your fingers a little bit here. Make sure that your arms are about shoulders width apart. And then you're spinning your left ribs towards that right thigh. So finding just a nice little gentle twist, you might get some cracks in your back. Start to walk back to center and then off to the left. So same thing, arms, shoulders distance apart. Already try to find your downward facing dog arms. Gently wrapping those right ribs towards that left thigh. You can just rest your right ear on that inner right arm. Maybe you go ahead and release the head down to the floor. That might just intensify the stretch that you're feeling, the sensation that you're getting. And then coming back to center. Rock on up to your tabletop. Good, and then just start to flow with the breath here. So as you inhale, you arch in your lumbar. Make sure that you have enough space, so wrists are underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. As you exhale, you're arching in. And you still might have your eyes closed here. It just kind of helps you to bring your gaze inward. Helps you to pay attention to the spine and to how it's feeling. Send some breath to the spots that are a little tighter here. Good. Couple more rounds. Maybe start to pull your lower belly in a little more so you're feeling that core engagement. Good. As you inhale, come back to a neutral spine so you're neither arching nor rounding. On your inhale, keeping your hips nice and even. So don't do this at the expense of opening that right hip. Keep those toes pointing down. Lift that leg, extend it up, and then maybe go ahead and wrap that right hip down a little more. Feel your lower belly pull in and up so you're engaging your core. Keep rooting down into your right palm. Stretch your left fingertips forward. So your gaze is forward here. As we exhale, we're just going to touch toes and fingertips down. Inhale up. Good. Exhale lower. So a little balance here. Keep those outer hips squeezing in a lot. Feel the core engage. Couple more. Lift up again on your inhale. Stretch out, get a little longer. And then as you exhale, release down. And then we take that second side. So feel the belly pull in and up as you inhale. Lift your left leg up off the mat. Toes are pointing down. Release that outer left hip down. Stretch your right fingertips forward. And then moving with the breath, a little core, a little balance. Exhale, lower toes and fingers. See if you can get them to touch at the same time. It might take a couple rounds to coordinate that. Exhale, lower. Feel both shoulder blades releasing down your back, kind of gently squeezing in towards each other. A couple more here. Good. Inhale up, stretch out. Imagine that you have two people on opposite sides of you, just tractioning you apart. And then go ahead and release down. Walk your hands slightly forward here. So, as you inhale, shift shoulders over wrists. We're going to lower halfway, chaturanga. Maybe you only bend your elbows an inch or two. So go no further than elbows in line with your shoulders. So you don't want the shoulders to dip down. Keep that nice alignment. Inhale, press up. A couple of these. Exhale, lower. Inhaling up. Exhale, lower. Inhale up here. And then exhale, lower halfway, hover, and then land on one piece in your belly. Lengthen back through all 10 toes. Interlace your fingers at the small of your back if that's available in your body. Otherwise, you're just reaching back through your hands. So thumbs point down towards the floor. Come onto your forehead here. Keep spinning to the outer edges of your feet as you inhale, chest and head extend forward and up. You might have a little bend in your elbows if you're hyper flexible in that joint. As you exhale, lower. Inhaling up. Good. Exhale, lower down. Inhale up. Exhale, lower. Inhale up here. So hold a couple of breaths. That inhale, exhale, nice and even. And just change the interlacing of your fingers. So you just shift the opposite thumb and index finger on top. Exhale, lower. Inhale, find extension, and then lift as you come up. Exhale, lower. Good. Inhale, up. Exhale, lower down. Inhaling up, holding here. Lift the shoulder heads up a little higher towards the ceiling. Maybe you start to lift your legs up off the mat. If you do that and it introduces grip into your lower back that doesn't feel good, you just place them back down. Couple more breaths. Try to lift evenly in the front of the body and the back of the body. And then place your feet down. Release the interlacing of your fingers. Bring fingertips underneath your shoulder heads. Elbows are squeezing in towards the midline. Bhujangasana, low cobra. Exhale, lower. Inhale, extend forward and up. Good. Exhale, lower down. Inhale up, holding here. So neck nice and long, which actually means that you might need to bring your gaze down a little bit and even tuck your chin slightly. Don't overdo that. And then you're welcome to stay here if you're ready for an up dog. Drag your hands back a lot. So check to see that your wrists land under your elbows. As you inhale, press into the tops of your feet. Press into your hands. And again, neck is long here, so gaze is just slightly forward. Don't throw the chin up towards the ceiling. It's just nice and even with the mat. If you're in your low cobra, press to tabletop. Curl toes under. And if you're in your up dog, just pull back to your downward facing dog, rolling over your toes. And then just take a moment here. Fidget around a little bit. Find a little movement. Maybe peek between your hands. Make sure that they're shoulders distance apart. Fingers spreading, pressing evenly. And then as you let your neck release, check to see that your feet are about hip distance apart. Second and third toe are pointing forward. It's like you're hiding your heels behind your toes. And then really find a little internal rotation so the inner thighs are wrapping up towards the ceiling. And then you start to stretch the sit bones up towards the ceiling. You might need to find a nice generous bend in your knees to help you find that a little more. And then you can start to straighten them any amount and release the heels down towards the floor. Doesn't matter if they make it. Couple more breaths here. Lengthen out the breath. And the first downward dog of the day is always a little intense. See if you can breathe some ease into this pose. And then nice and easy, just start to walk your feet to meet your hands at the top of the mat. Take a nice little forward fold here. So feet about hip distance apart. Grab opposite elbows. And then just find a little movement, swaying side to side. Again, really letting the back of the neck release, which isn't always so easy to do. The initial stages of our yoga practice. Change the cross of your arms. Nod your head yes. Nod your head no. And then just releasing your fingertips down to the mat. Keep that bend in your knees. Begin to roll on up. So coming to standing. Good. So finding a nice tall mountain pose, arms by your side, palms facing out. So you're almost getting a little external rotation here. You're feeling this lift of your sternum up towards the ceiling. Same time that's happening, you're directing your tailbone down. So you're getting nice and tall through the sides of your waist. So the ribs aren't puffing out, the booty's not sticking back. Just feeling really tall and elegant here. And we start to flow. So just moving into some Ardha Surya Namaskar half sun salutes. Inhale, reach up. As you exhale, maybe you take that bend in your knees as you hinge forward, fold in. Inhaling, fingertips on the floor or hands on shins or thighs. Chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. Exhale, fold in. Good, inhale, press down into your feet. Stretch arms out and up. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. Inhaling, reaching. Exhale, fold in. Maybe close your eyes here, especially if you're feeling particularly distracted today. Inhale, lengthen. That will just help to bring the gaze inward. Exhale, fold in. Pressing down into your feet, arms reach out and up. So a lot of times when we look around, the thoughts start to kick up. Palms come together at your heart. Let's do 3 more of these, just moving with your breath at your pace. No rush. Let them feel good as you start to warm up the body. Anytime your attention starts to wander, just come back to your breath. And just standing with palms together at your heart when you're done with that third round, checking in, noticing how you're feeling. Good, let's start to root down into the left foot. Feel that outer left hip squeeze in, come up onto your right toes. So hold on to this feeling and then open up that hip. So just bring your hands to your hip bones. You want to feel that they're both in line, both facing forward. You can stay here like this. Maybe you lift that right leg to the lower left leg, or so right foot to lower left leg rather. Maybe you can reach down, snuggle that foot higher into the left thigh. So we don't want that foot on the knee since that's a joint. Palms come together at your heart. Maybe lift those left toes up off the mat, stretch them out, spread them out, and then gently place them down without gripping. Shoulder blades release to tailbone. Tailbone is releasing to your heel. Nice kneel. Inhale, start to stretch your arms up. Start to feel that lift of your heart so much that your gaze starts to come up. You might start to wobble a little more. Keep firming that left hip in. Keep pulling your belly in and up. If you fall out, it's no big deal. Yoga is a good place to practice falling. And then bringing palms down the midline. Good, just releasing that right foot. Give the legs a little walk out if you need. And then rooting down into that right foot, feel that outer hip squeeze in, feel your belly pull in and up, come up onto your left toes, hold on to all of that, and let's just put our hands on our hips here. Start to open up. Good, and you could just stay here like this with toes on the floor. Maybe you bring that foot, left foot to the lower right leg. Maybe you reach down, bring the foot a little higher. Palms come together at your heart. Are you breathing? Are you gazing at something in front of you that isn't moving? These things are going to both help with the balance. And then really energize the legs. So it's this isometric stretch. Everything is pressing into the midline and even pressing out a little bit at the same time. Start to grow your branches up. So reach up. You can take your arms as wide as you need to so that you can start to bring those elbows towards straighter. And then begin to bring your gaze up. So find a little sensation of cobra in your upper body. And then palms come to heart center. Releasing there. Just walk the legs out. All right. So finding your nice Tadasana. As you inhale, knees bend, arms reach up, Utkatasana. A few breaths here. So again, toes nice and light. Maybe lift them up off the mat, spread them, and then gently press them down. As you exhale, start to hinge forward, fold in. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. As you exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, step your right foot way back, then your left foot. So here we are in our plank pose. Let's hold this for a few breaths. So lengthen back through your heels, fire up the legs, stretch forward through your sternum, gaze an inch or two in front of your fingertips. Press evenly into all 10 knuckles in your hands. Even start to firm your forearms in towards each other. And then we shift way forward on our toes here. Option to come to your knees. Lower halfway, chaturanga. Hover here or come all the way down. Inhale into your low cobra or your upward facing dog. As you exhale, downward facing dog. We're going to come into our crescent pose. So we're going to inhale, lift our right leg. Exhale, step that foot through. Walk it off to the right so you're not on a tightrope. Find a little bend in your left knee. Inhale, rise up. And then just bring your hands to your hips again. Notice how both hip bones are facing forward. Pull your lower belly in and up. Release your tailbone down. Take arms out and up again. Maybe gaze up as palms press. As you exhale, hands come to the mat. Keep hips as slow as you step to your plank pose. Stretch out this exhale as you lower to halfway hover or all the way down. Inhale into the back bend of your choice. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, step that foot through. So you stay on those right toes. Walk the left foot to the left a little bit if you need to. Find a little bend in that right knee. Upright yourself here. So with that bend in the knee, you can pull your front ribs towards your back ribs, direct the tailbone down. Then maybe you start to straighten. Bring hands to hips. So in crescent pose, it's much easier to keep the hips facing forward. So just kind of memorize that feeling. Stretch arms out and up again. Gaze up. Feel that lift of your heart as palms press. As you exhale, hands come to the mat. Keep hips as slow. Step left foot to meet right. As you exhale, lower halfway hover all the way down. Inhale into your low cobra or up dog. Are you using your legs? As you exhale, downward facing dog. Take a nice deep inhale through your nose here. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, ha. Make sure that your neck is soft and released so it's lengthening. Gaze soft and steady between your feet. Maybe you're already noticing that the hamstrings, the spine are starting to open up a little bit as we build a little heat. As you inhale, a little bend in the knees, come to your tippy toes. End of your exhale, lightly hop through or step right then left or walk feet forward, so lots of options. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, press down into your feet, stretch arms out and up. As you exhale, hands come together at your hearts. Ooh, and I skipped the chair pose, sorry about that. All right, here we go. Inhaling, knees bend, arms reach up. Utkatasana. As you exhale, hinge forward, fold in. Nobody gets too upset about skipping chair poses. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. Bend your knees, plant your palms, keep gaze forward, left foot back, then right. On the same exhale, you take your version of your chaturanga vinyasa. So you can mix and match. Some days we need less, some days we need more. We pull back to our downward facing dog. So one more time, let's do our crescent pose here. As you inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, step that foot through. Make sure you're not on a tight rope, so walk that right foot to the right if you need to. Inhale, rise up. You can have a bend in that back knee, or you can start to straighten it. As you exhale, hands come to the mat. Step to plank. See if you can stretch out this exhale as you lower halfway hover or all the way down. Inhale, low cobra or upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, step that left foot through. Stay on those right toes. Rise up, crescent pose. Tailbone directs down, sternum reaches up. Exhale, hands frame that left foot. Stepping to plank, lowering through your chaturanga. And of course, as we start to move, warm up, if you need less chaturangas, you start to skip them. Work your legs a little more in this downward dog. Feel inner thigh, wrap toward the outer thigh. Stretch those sit bones up towards the ceiling. Maybe melt the heels a little further back. And then as you inhale, a little bend in your knees, come to your tippy toes. End of your exhale, step left and right, hop or walk forward. Inhale, chest lengthens. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, knees bend, arms reach up, Utkatasana. We'll hold it for a couple extra breaths here on this side, just to make up for the last one. You're welcome. Feel the inner thigh release down, maybe sink a little deeper. Good, and then inhale, press your legs to straight. Hands come together at your heart. Take a couple of breaths. So moving into a classic Surya Namaskara B. So we're going to do this with our warrior one this time. It's just going to be a little harder to keep those hips square, so we're going to notice that. All right, here we go. As you inhale, knees bend, arms reach up, Utkatasana, chair pose. As you exhale, hinge forward, fold in. Let the neck lengthen down. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. Bend your knees, plant your palms, gaze still forward. Right foot back, then left. Pull back, downward dog, or take a chaturanga vinyasa, building a little more heat in your body. Legs active. Good. Inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, step that foot through. So again, give yourself space. This time we're gonna spin into the back edge of our left foot. Those toes are pointing towards the upper left-hand corner of your mat. Let's bring our hands to our hips here. So you can already tell that that left hip is opening up. Unless you're in Cirque du Soleil, it's gonna do that. But as you seal more powerfully into the back edge of that left foot, maybe you can start to direct this left hip down. Keep that deep bend in your right knee. Inhale, peel your chest up. Try to find that action of dragging that left hip forward. And though we can't do that perfectly, extend your left fingertips forward and you can start to square that left side of the waist, even with the right. So the upper body is squaring towards the front of the room. Extend left arm up, palms press, gaze up. As you exhale, hands come to the mat. Either pull back, downward facing dog, or take a chaturanga vinyasa. So whatever your body is needing. Being very methodical about each pose. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, step that foot through. So we're gonna be down nice and low here. We're gonna set this up. Spin into the back edge of your right foot. Those toes point towards the upper right-hand corner of your mat. Bring hands to hips. All right, so notice how this right hip is wanting to open up a little bit. We're gonna try to direct it down. You find that by pressing more into the back edge of that right foot. Good, inhale. Go ahead and rise on up. Find that feeling, left hip dragging back, right hip driving forward. Extend right fingertips forward. Just start to square the right side of your waist, even with your left. Extend that top arm up. As you exhale, hands come to the mat. And you're either stepping to plank, then downward dog, or straight to downward dog, or you're taking a chaturanga vinyasa. So lots of options. And then as you pull back to your downward dog, you just take a moment of rest here. You could even come down to a quick little child's pose if you needed to. Try to stretch the breath out. Let the inhale lengthen, let the exhale lengthen. If you took a child's pose, come back into your downward facing dog. As you inhale, little bend in your knees, come to your tippy toes. Good. At the end of your exhale, lightly hop through or step right then left. Inhale, chest lengthens. As you exhale, hinge forward, fold in. Inhale, knees bend, arms reach up, Utkatasana, chair pose. Press your legs to straight as you exhale. Hands come together at your heart. So let's do a full round of Surya Namaskar, be classic. With that warrior one, we're just gonna move with the breath this time. So here we go. Skip chaturangas if you need to. Inhaling, knees bend, arms reach up. As you exhale, you hinge forward, fold in, lengthening in the back of the neck. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. Bend your knees, plant your palms, left foot back, then right. Pull to downward dog or take a chaturanga vinyasa. Fire up the legs. Use them more than you think you can. Inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, step that foot through, spin into the back edge of your left foot. Strong legs, drag that left hip forward. Inhale, rise up, Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale, hands come to the mat. So chaturanga vinyasa, if you want to keep that right leg lifted, lower chaturanga, place the toes down before you come into your back bend. So you're doing that nice and even. Good, and then from our downward facing dog, we inhale, lift the left leg. Exhale, step that foot through, spin into the back edge of the right foot, drag that left hip back, right hip forward, rise up on your inhale, Virabhadrasana 1. And then as you exhale, hands come to the back. So right leg or left leg might stay lifted, lower, toes come down before you move into your chaturanga vinyasa, your back bend. Downward facing dog here. And let's all take a nice deep inhale through the nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, ha. And let's find another child's pose again here. So we've built a lot of heat doing those sun salutes. Take a little break here. And in fact, let's all take a nice deep inhale through the nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, ha, let it go. And then start to slow the breath down. Keep the inhale and the exhale really nice and even. How does this child's pose feel different than when we started here? All right, so rock forward to your tabletop. Curl your toes under, downward facing dog. As you inhale a little, bend in your knees, come to your tippy toes. End of your exhale, step left and right, walk forward or hop lightly through. If you're hopping, try to keep your arms nice and straight. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. As you exhale, hinge forward, fold in. Inhaling, knees bend, arms reach up, Utkatasana, chair pose. All right, so from here, let's keep sinking down with lots of control until you come to seated, which might not be so controlled. That was not controlled, Neil. I said controlled. It's a hard one to do. All right, so I want you to find the center of your sit bones, taking your hands underneath your thighs, pressing your shoulder heads back so your spine is nice and long. Come up onto your tippy toes, and then lift the right toes up, left toes up. So you just might stay here like this. Maybe it feels like you can extend your arms forward. If you start to round in the back to do that, come back here, give yourself a little leverage. If you want to play with taking legs straight, super big stretch on the hip flexors, not easy to do. All right, inhale. As you exhale, slowly lower, shoulders and heels lift up off the mat. Inhale up. Exhale, Ardha Navasana, half boat pose. Inhale, full boat pose, Navasana. A couple more. Exhale, lower. Inhale, deepen your belly, pull yourself up. And then exhale, lower here. See if you can keep your shoulders lifted. Take that right leg up. Bring your hands to the outside of that leg. You might need to press this left heel down here. As we exhale, we slowly lower right leg to meet left. 3 of these. Exhale, lower. Take the full breath. Good, inhale up. Exhale, lower. Stretch arms forward, Ardha Navasana. Lift a little higher. And then take that left leg up. Hands come to the outside. Maybe taking your right heel on the floor. Exhale, lower. Good, inhale up. Exhale, lower. Good, inhale up with control. Exhale, lower. Inhale up. I might have given us an extra. Exhale, lower. Release hands, stretch forward. Oh, and then release down. Hug your knees into your chest. Give them a little squeeze. Then bring your arms out in a T shape. Drop knees off to the right. Looking either straight up at the ceiling or gazing out over your left fingertips. So stretching into the left side of the neck a bit. Good. Inhale up to center. And then exhale. Off to the left with the knees, gazing out over your right fingertips or staring straight up at the ceiling. Allowing your breath to slow down here. Good, we come up to center. All right, so we're gonna start to roll forward and back on our spine. We're gonna get a little momentum and we're gonna roll up into our Utkatasana chair pose. So Do your best, really kind of try to stick those feet. Be willing to fall and laugh. Nice. And then press your legs to straight. Hands come together at your heart. Couple of breaths. Noticing how you're feeling. All right, so let's do some externals. A little twist first. So if you have a block or some books, go ahead and grab one. We're gonna step wide on our mat. So edges of the feet are parallel with the edges of the mat. The block is gonna make a little triangle with your feet. You may or may not need it for this one. We're just gonna come into a nice little open twist here. All right, so hands on your hips, elbows squeeze in, sternum reaches up, tailbone reaches down. Really activate the legs. Feel the outer edges of the feet squeezing in towards each other. Deep inhale. As you exhale, start to hinge forward. We're gonna bring our right hand to that block, or it could be pressing into the floor underneath your nose. Good, and then just take your right or your left thumb to your left hip crease, pull back there. And then as you exhale, start to twist to the left. You might just stay here like this. Maybe you start to extend that top arm up. So it feels like shoulder blades stack on top of each other as much as possible. Breath smooth and steady, neck nice and long. Maybe you're looking up at those left fingers if that arm is extended. If it feels okay to do so in the neck. Feel the outer edges of the feet still squeezing in towards each other. So the legs are so active here. You want to make sure that you're not gripping the toes though. So press more into the mound of the big toe, the mound of the little toe, inner heel and outer heel. One more deep inhale, wrap those right ribs up towards the sky a little more. And then as we exhale, we unwind. So left hand comes underneath your nose or on a block. Take your right thumb to that right hip crease, just gently pull back and then feel the outer edges of the feet squeeze in towards each other. Inhale, find length. Exhale, start to wrap your left ribs to the right. You could stay here like this. Maybe you extend your top arm up. So try to find that feeling of shoulder blades stacking on top of each other, much as we have in our triangle pose. We're gonna go there next. Of course, it's harder to find that in this twist. You might begin to look up at your right thumb, right fingers, if it feels okay in your neck. Couple more breaths. Good deep inhale. Exhale, release down, and then just fold in here so you can walk your hands back. You can grab your ankles and gently pull yourself in. You could hook peace fingers around your big toes. So whatever variation feels nice here. You might have a little bend in your knees as well as you're doing this. Let the neck lengthen, let it release. Breath smooth and steady. Couple more. All right, so as you inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. You can just come to your fingertips. As you exhale, hands come to the hips, elbows squeeze in. Press into your feet on your inhale, rise up. Step your feet together, just for a breath or two. Finding your Tadasana, your mountain pose. Lengthen down through your tailbone as you stretch up through your sternum. Find that length through the sides of the waist. And then setting up for our triangle pose, so Trikonasana. So find that nice, generous stance again, maybe even a little wider than you were for the forward fold. From deep within your right hip socket, turn that leg out to 90 degrees. The block can go behind that foot. And then left toes are gonna turn in quite a bit. So this left hip is releasing down, whereas we're getting this big hip opener in this front leg. So the legs are doing two different things. So we don't want our hips to be on the same plane here. Really seal into the back edge of that left foot, press to the inner edge of the right foot, and notice how you can start to feel that action of inner thigh wrapping towards outer thigh. We do want our torso to face forward here. So there's a little bit of twist in the upper body. Extend arms up. Gaze out over those right fingers. Good. And then as you exhale, start to shift your hips to the left. Really lengthen through this right side of your body. Stretching, stretching, stretching. Keep pressing to the inner edge of that right foot. Your hand is either going to come to your shin or thigh, or this is where a block is really nice. And then you have all of those different heights. So just resting your hand there. And then stacking shoulder blades on top of each other. Sometimes the tendency in this pose is to lean that top arm way back, especially if we're a little more flexible. So don't overdo it. Less, do less. Just maybe back out a little bit. Gaze might be down. It might be forward. You might start to bring your gaze up. Breath smooth and steady. Fire up that back leg a little more. Fire up that front leg a little more. So really feel muscle firm to bone. And then feel your heart opening this much. Or yeah, exactly like this. Let's keep this top arm lifted today. Just bring your gaze down without closing off your chest. Bend your right knee. Walk your block forward about a foot. See if you can lift up that left leg without stepping in. You might have to step in, but just play with it. A new way to get into the pose. Your left toes are pointing forward. You're pressing to the inner edge of your right foot. Stacking arms on top of each other here. If you fall out, it's no big deal. Are you breathing? Are you smiling a little bit? Is there tension in your face and jaw? I like what's going on, Neil. And then as gracefully as we came in, start to bend that right knee. Move the block, lightly touch back. Find your Trikonasana. As you exhale, look down at your right toes. You can grab your block if you have one. Rise on up. So this side will either be, probably it will be a little easier because we know where we're going. It might not be, no big deal. From deep within this left hip socket, turn that leg out 90 degrees. Right toes turn in. So our hips are not on the same plane, doing all kinds of different things, but we do want to square our torso a little bit. Take the block behind your left foot. So press to the inner edge of that left foot, the mound of the big toe, the inner heel. Feel this inner left thigh wrap towards your outer left thigh as this right hip releases down. Stretch arms up, inhale. And maybe just imagine that somebody's pulling on that right arm a little bit to help you square your torso forward. Legs stay really strong as you exhale, shift your hips off to the right. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen through that left side of your waist. When you can't get any longer, hand to thigh, to shin, to block. This side might feel different, so adjust the block if you need to. And then just landing in this triangle pose here. So such a yummy, yummy pose, intense. It's one of those poses that every time we come to it, it feels a little different on our bodies. It's one of those poses that stretches a lot of things and it can be quite intense. Your breath is smooth and steady. You're either gazing down, forward, or up. If you want to challenge the balance a little bit, fire up the legs. Let's really firm the muscle above the knees. As you do that, maybe you can find a little more length through that left side, this underside of your body here. All right, so we're going to keep heart this open. The only thing that's going to change is we're going to bring our gaze down. We're going to try to do this without a whole lot of fanfare, so don't think about it too much. Bend the left knee, walk the block forward. From the inseam of this right leg, start to gently, and I want to say launch, that's not the right word, but start to transition the weight, all of the weight into that left foot. Your right toes are pointing forward. And sometimes we can lift this top leg a little high. It can feel good, but again, you don't have to overdo it. So lower it so that heel is in line with your hip. We have taken triangle pose. We have turned it on its side. Are you breathing? Are you smiling? Good. And then with grace, nice and methodically, just touch back into your triangle pose. So it's not always easy to do that with control, but we practice it, we get better at it. It starts to engage different muscles. So we start to train our body. Exhale, look down at those left toes. Inhale, press on up. Good, parallel your feet. Interlace your hands at the small of your back. Heart reaches up. As you exhale, hinge forward, fold in. Palms might press together any amount, especially if you're a little more open in your shoulders. If you are hyperflexing the elbows, just give a little bend there. That's going to actually intensify the stretch that you feel in your shoulders. Are you gripping the neck? Let the back of the head lengthen and release the back of the neck. Slow down the breath here. Be really conscious about that. So we kind of are shifting gears at this stage. All right, as you inhale, press into your feet, lead with your heart, come all the way up. Good, step your feet together. Release your hands. We're gonna come onto our backs. We're gonna do some active bridge pose here and then a restorative bridge pose. So do have a block nearby, or a blanket or a book would work, and then just go ahead and make your way onto your back. So setting up with knees over ankles, feet about hip distance apart. So before we even come into this pose, what tends to happen is toes turn out, and then also we start to roll to the outer edges of the feet. So I want you to think Tadasana. So you're standing in mountain pose, feet are in mountain pose, pressing to the four corners, feel the arches engage and lift a little bit. Arms by your side, you're gonna keep your gaze straight up here. As you inhale, press into your feet, lift your hips up any amount. Exhale, lower. Few like this, just warming it up. Inhale, lift, Setu Bandha Sarvangasana bridge pose. Exhale, release down. Inhale here. Exhale, release. And coming up for the hold, inhale, press into your feet. Interlace your fingers underneath you. Start to roll shoulder blades underneath, or maybe you're grabbing the outer edges of your mat and walking hands towards heels. Same actions. So we want to turn our shoulders into feet. So you're really firming those shoulders down into the mat underneath you. As you do that, again, just put your brain in your feet. Make sure that you're not rolling to the outer edges, so press a little more to the inner edges. As you're doing that, direct your tailbone forward and feel your inner thighs release down. You might feel a little stretch in the knees. You're gonna feel this in the glutes, the quadriceps, potentially even the hamstrings. Couple more good breaths. Good, as you exhale, lower down. Good, so just take a breath or two here. We're gonna come up again. All right, so find your feet, find that lift of your arches. Inhale, direct tailbone forward. Find that lengthening through the sides of your waist, and then start to walk your feet together, the center, so they're pressing together. You can snuggle those shoulders underneath a little bit, and we're just gonna extend our right toes forward. So you can keep both knees squeezing in towards each other, and you can kind of point the foot, so you're pointing and flexing at the same time. It's like that Barbie foot. Notice if that right hip wants to lower down, keep lifting it up. One more deep inhale. Good, release. So let's find our knees squeezing in towards each other. Press both hips up evenly towards the ceiling. Inhale. Just extend left leg straight. Keep squeezing knees in. Keep pressing hips up evenly. Are you breathing? Couple more. Good, release. Take an inhale. Lift hips a little higher. As you exhale, release down. So if you want to do another active version, if you feel like you just need a little more, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, we're gonna come on up. You're gonna take that block, gonna slide it underneath your sacrum. So that little triangle that's at the bottom of your tailbone. Oftentimes what happens here is that we get the block too high towards the shoulder blades, so kind of in the lumbar spine. So there's effort here, but it should feel pretty comfortable and easy if the block is in the right place. Close your eyes if you haven't already. And then just start to, as you inhale, feel your sternum stretch up towards your chest. Slow your breath down, let the inhale get longer. And let the exhale get longer. So when we come into these static poses, the brain likes to think, likes to start doing. Just be like, hey brain, stay chill. You don't have to worry about the to-do list just yet. Instead, maybe just notice the sensations that are happening in your body. Notice the breath in this pose. I love how you can feel the expansiveness of the breath on the inhale in bridge pose. The front of the body, the sides of the body, the back of the body. Good, and then we're gonna inhale, press into our feet. Lift the hips up off the block, just move it out from underneath you. Walk your feet as wide as your mat and take your arms out in a T shape. Start to windshield wiper the legs back and forth. So deep back bending there. We always want to counter that. The nice little twisting action to help bring the spine back to neutral. Good. When your knees are off to the right, just leave them there. Maybe you take right ankle above left knee. That's just going to intensify things a little bit. So if it doesn't feel good, just go to where you were prior. Can be looking straight up here or rolling onto your left cheek. Gazing out over those left fingertips. If you crossed your right ankle over your left knee, uncross. So feet stay wide, drop knees off to the left. Good. Notice how this side feels different than the other side. So this is one of the great things about our yoga practice. We really tune into that. Tune into our own physiology, our own anatomy. You want to take left ankle above right knee, you're welcome to do so. Maybe you start to roll onto your right cheek. Good, uncross. Good, knees come up to center and then give them a little squeeze. And stay here like this. If you'd like to come into happy baby, grab the outer edges of your feet or your thighs. Gently press down, direct your tailbone forward so you start to feel your lower back flatten on the spine. Feel your shoulder blades get heavy in the mat. And then we're going to start to make our way into our final resting pose here. So coming into classic Shavasana, if that feels okay in your body. So legs a little wider than hips distance apart. Arms a little wider than shoulders distance apart. Maybe snuggle those shoulders underneath you again a little bit. So you feel that stretch across the pectorals, that lift of your sternum up towards the ceiling. And then it just feels like your chin is just gently, gently, gently tucking. You don't need to overdo it. If there's sensation in your lower back, you take a blanket underneath your knees. Or you bend the legs, let knees knock in towards each other so you take the legs out wide or the feet out wide. And then here, take an exhale if you need to, and then start to just move into your resting pose. Let your breath find its own natural rhythm. Shavasana. Of course, I forgot to turn the phone off and it rings during Shavasana. Use it, ignore it. Let your next inhale be deeper. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go. Ha. Begin to wiggle fingers and toes, stretch out. So just bring some gentle movement back to your body, bringing your awareness back to your body. Staying soft and quiet, roll to one side or the other. Just finding the fetal position. And you're going to use your hands to help you press up to a comfortable seat here. So find a nice tall seat. Find a sense of ease in the seat. Find space for your breath to move. And just pause and check in. Notice how you feel differently than you did an hour ago. Send yourself love and gratitude for showing up, for your commitment. It's not always easy to get here. It always feels good at the end of class. It always makes a little difference. And finally, just promise yourself that you're going to carry this feeling with you into the rest of the day, the rest of the week ahead. Bring your palms together at your heart and just bow your head with a smile. Great work today. Thank you. Namaste.